Welcome to Ascending Together, where we connect and reflect. I'm your co host Salmah, and with me is your co host Meriem. This is a dopamine you need while folding your laundry. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please make yourselves comfortable and join us. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Ascending Together. Meriem, how are you doing
Wa
today?
Walaikum assalam, Salma. Alhamdulillah, I'm doing good and I'm very excited for our first episode of Ascending Together.
Alhamdulillah. Well, it's the afternoon and it's Monday, so we're kind of crashing. What are you drinking to keep hold you over?
I just finished my chai tea.
Oh, so
So,
you have welcomed black tea into your home.
yes, I bought a big pack.
Okay, good, 'cause-
Yes, but I did
Oh,
bring a big jar of water with me.
okay, okay,
Mhm.
that's good. Um,
What about you?
I already had my coffee and it's not really doing what it's supposed to, so I'm having some sparkling water. Hopefully the cold drink will wake up my brain just a little bit.
Definitely. Inshallah, we'll see.
Inshallah. So today's episode is مقامك حيث اقامك. Your position um, is where Allah has positioned you. And we picked this title because it just keeps coming up in our life in daily struggles. Um, with where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just He has shaped our lives in a way that's just perfect for us right now. Um, and to start off, with me is Meriem. Meriem is a coach for homeschooling parents, helping them nurture their children's natural fitrah to grow and learn. She created the Muslim Homeschool app and founded a Sabikun co-op in Dallas, Texas, a community that has become more than just a place to gather and learn. A mom of four, Meriem spends her time outside, client calls on nature walks with her kids, or experimenting with recipes made from scratch. Meriem is my own homeschooling coach. Alhamdulillah, she's been my homeschooling coach for 2 years now.
Yes.
No, a little bit longer actually.
Yeah.
Well, we're
Yeah.
um, yeah, we met before meeting in person. We met online, and subhanallah, we have been part of each other's tribes ever since. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khairan for the
Yeah,
introduction.
I do need to say something about our co-op though. Our co-op is so amazing that when we want to punish our kids, we threaten them that they're not going to co-op. So um,
Alhamdulillah,
that's just a testament to
alhamdulillah.
how amazing Maryam is.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
Oh, Jazakallah khairan. But as you said, like everything is um, coming together because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's a community effort. And I
Alhamdulillah.
always pray to have a tribe, alhamdulillah, and it's such a blessing.
Alhamdulillah.
I want to introduce you now. So, mashallah, you're very inspiring. I'm looking forward to share this with everyone who's hearing us today so they can learn from your dedication, mashallah. So, Salma is a passionate mom of two boys, and she is the founder of Tomorrow's Harvest. It's a small business dedicated to fostering a meaningful connection between children and the Quran. Inspired by her homeschooling journey, she creates Arabic and Islamic educational resources that help families maintain a strong bond with their faith in fun and engaging ways. Through her work, Selma strives to empower parents to nurture a love for the Arabic language and Quran in their children. Tomorrow's harvest reflects her belief that the seeds we plant in our children today will yield the fruits of tomorrow. Outside of homeschooling and running her business, she enjoys homesteading, baking, and gardening. She is also passionate about creating visually beautiful resources to enrich learning and loves sharing her journey with others. Whether it's through her business or personal life, Selma is deeply committed to bringing the beauty of faith and learning into every day. MashaAllah. I'm very inspired by your dedication. And as I told you before, I love how you pay attention to small details and you try to beautify the things that are around you, which I think mm, it's perfect. It goes with the theme for today.
Mhm.
مقامك حيث أقامك, because we find ourselves in situations and we could always choose to either look for ease, look for beauty in them, or
Yeah.
dwell on the negative and
Yes.
stay stuck and victimizing ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely, 100%. And it really does show us that, like, the life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed for us, like, we're all on different paths, right? Like, that's why comparing is so dangerous, because why is Allah gonna create your path the same as someone else's? And we either choose to be victims or we choose to make our lives beautiful and romanticize them, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a struggle, but you're gonna make the best out of that struggle. Like, so what if it's a struggle? Life is a struggle. Um,
Yes.
like, I remember, I bought a book and I didn't even read the book yet, but I just remember looking through the table of contents, and it literally said, "Relaxation is not for the dunya." And it hit me. Like, I didn't even read it. I didn't need, and now I don't even need to read the book. I get it, right? Like, that already changed my perspective. So
That
what?
makes so much sense.
Yeah, like, it's so what if you're tired? Keep going. This is not.
Mhm.
This is not. Things will not be smooth in dunya, right?
Yeah, if it was, then it will be Jannah.
Exactly.
Yes.
So who is Meriem as of today? What's in your heart?
I am a mom of 4 kiddos, mashallah.
Mashallah.
I homeschool them, and I ran my coaching practice, and I
Mhm.
always try to do things for the community,
Mm.
like events, and we just finished, like, our science fair,
Science. Yeah, it's amazing,
and it
mashallah.
was amazing, alhamdulillah. But it's very easy to lose myself in doing things for other people.
Mhm.
So it's been a practice for a long time to always come back, say, is this working for me? Why am I doing it? Who
Mhm.
am I? What am I supposed to do?
Mhm.
Yes, I I found myself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala positioned me in a community space where I get to do things. I get to
Mhm.
organize events, for example. But how can I balance it so I don't forget my duties as a servant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right?
Yeah.
How to not neglect my kids
Mhm.
or my husband. It's my family, like my nuclear family unit, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's definitely been hard to balance it or just navigate the whole thing when I just started.
Mhm.
But alhamdulillah, I'm finding myself getting stuck less.
Yeah.
And whenever I find myself like on the edge or like again like imbalance and misalignment with my goals and my true like purpose, I feel it
Mhm.
quickly, you know,
Mhm.
and I try to like find solutions, like ask, "What am I doing?"
Yeah.
Literally, I just ask like, "What am I doing? Why am I
Yeah.
here? Like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this program or why am I in volunteering this?" Because it all
Yeah.
seems good. It's all good work,
Mhm.
but the community doesn't come first. Is the
Yes.
being servant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if I'm going to do good for the community, but I didn't even pray on time,
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
like, hurts in the inside, right? Does
Mhm.
that happen to you? Like
Yeah, I know, I think about it because, on paper, and I'm not gonna go into much detail, but on paper, our lives shouldn't work, right? Like, on paper,
mhm,
the thi
definitely.
the things we have on our plate are just not possible. And then I remember also learning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created each and every one of us with a special set of skills. And there's so much benefit into what we each have to offer. And maybe the best thing you can ever do for your community is tomorrow's harvest, is preparing and putting fertilizer, right? And
Yeah,
nourishing the soil of your own household. Because at
yeah,
the end of the day, our kids are the potential leaders of tomorrow, whether
yeah,
we like it or not. And that's such a huge responsibility. And I feel like we live in a world where motherhood is just a title and not something to embody, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really what.
Well, there is I would say that we are embodying something without paying attention.
Mhm.
When I go on Instagram, for example, the
Mhm.
overwhelming amount of reels that I see about normalizing being in a mom bun for 2 weeks, not taking a shower,
Yeah,
being
yeah,
resentful, uh,
yeah.
and stress eating and all that
Mhm.
stuff, it's too much. I mean, I understand you wanna relate, but you're
Yeah,
kinda, like, just encouraging or just saying, "Oh, this is how it is," like, that's
exactly.
how that's how it should be.
And it brings me back to honestly one of my favorite words because you can embody motherhood in the sense that you're a miserable victim, or you can embody motherhood in the sense of the word matrescence, where and I think that happens to us maybe like after our first kid turns 1 or it doesn't happen right away. It takes time where you just kind of like imagine like you're in this empty space and motherhood is like um this floating cloud, for example, right? And then it hits you and you step into it.
Yeah,
And then motherhood just becomes you in the
yeah,
sense that like I want to make nourishing food for my children. I want to read them books. I want to be around them. Like I want to wire their brain towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right?
yeah,
And once you get there, the tired is just like, yeah, whatever, I'm tired. So what? Like I'm always gonna be tired. The mothers that don't think like that, hello, you're also tired.
oh,
Right? And
yeah,
that's you're right, and that's something we always, like, talk about in the homeschooling community when mom's like, "Well, I'm gonna be really tired if I homeschool." Like, you're also tired right now. Waking up early with your kids and packing lunches, putting them in a car, and then taking them to school every single day, and that like, that
yeah,
you're not refreshed either, right?
yeah, and there
Um,
I wanna say something here before
mhm,
we move on. There's 2 types of being tired. There's physically tired and
mhm,
mentally tired. But since when physically tired was a bad thing?
yes,
Like, why are we scared to go for that long walk or
yes,
just, like, just being physically tired, going to the gym or doing things that are physically tiring? I'm
mhm,
not saying that they're physically straining. I'm not saying, like, go
yes,
break your back, but it just I realized this after we finished our science fair event.
mhm, mhm,
I was talking to my grandmother, and she was, like, checking on me. I'm like, "Yeah, alhamdulillah, it went very well.
mhm,
I am tired." And she said, "Yeah, well, that's normal.
mhm.
You do
It's a
things you
nice
need to do.
tired,
You
yeah,
do not wanna be tired." Because again
yeah,
and I don't know if you I'm sure this happens to you, but the
mhm,
days when you are more productive physically,
yes,
when you move, like, physically, you are
mhm.
more productive and you are in a better state mentally.
You
The
know
days
those
when I'm home
days you know those days when you're like, "I need to deep clean," and you just do
mhm,
it, and then your feet are sore by the end of the day, but you sit down and, like, the floors are shiny and the couch is nice, and you're like, "Ugh, yes." Like, it's very satisfying. It's a pleasurable feeling.
yes.
So
That
yes, like
cleanliness, and
yeah.
also, I had another realization a few weeks ago. So I don't really like cooking. Cooking is not my
Mm,
thing.
mhm,
And I was feeling in a crunch. I was not being productive that day, but
mhm.
I'm just my brain is racing, right? But I'm not
Yeah,
really actually doing anything.
yeah.
And I just like, okay, I'm gonna make dinner. I wanna make probably something like a stew, like a curry, I
Mhm,
think that I made. But the
mhm.
fact that I had to cut the onions, cut the garlic, cut the tomatoes, I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, working with my hands and making this nurtured me,
Yes.
made me feel something like I'm nurturing my kids, I'm nurturing my
Mhm,
home. Like,
mhm,
especially moms, it was just me and the little kids. When it's
mhm.
just you and the little kids, you don't wanna cook, you
No,
just it's
no.
different when your husband is around. We all know this, right?
Yes.
So,
We
it
all grow up
really
like that too, yeah.
yeah. So it really felt good that I am taking care of myself in this way. Yes, it's helpful
Mhm,
to order food here and there, have freezer
mhm,
meals, but really doing that thing with my hand nurtured me. which
Yeah.
also brought me to another point, like, just being mentally tired. I always tell my clients, when you homeschool, yes, it is physically tiring and it could be mentally tiring.
Mhm.
However, when you are homeschooling in a way that you are nurturing your children, it nurtures you
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
We're not talking about tutoring. Open the book, do this page, let me grade it, and move on.
Mhm.
That is not what
Mhm.
we're talking about. That's mentally exhausting because there is a disconnect.
Yeah.
But when you are reading the book together, you're looking for the answers to the lesson. You're looking for resources. You are learning yourself. Your
Yeah.
child is learning, and you're creating a bond. And that bond is nurturing. It fills your cup back up.
Yes. Yeah.
So
And you
yeah,
know
I
it
believe.
and
Mhm.
you always made it a point where, like, homeschooling has to stimulate the mom too, right? Like,
Mm,
if I'm doing black and white worksheets and we're both huffing and puffing, we're not really you're not we're
100%.
yeah, so
Yeah.
so and it's again, it's always your perspective of things, right? Like, we
Mhm.
lived a year where there are people now who wish that they had their arm to cook for their family,
Yeah.
where they wish they can go buy an onion to cook for
Yeah.
their family. So it's just perspective and, like, on it, like, sometimes I get really stressed out because, like you said, I have to we have, mashallah, like, we have 2 boys between both of us. Um, Boys eat, and, I
Mhm.
usually get pretty nervous when I go grocery shopping 'cause, like, your bill increases over time,
Yeah.
but there is something, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, I always say alhamdulillah when I come home from grocery shopping, something so satisfying about buying food for your kids to eat and seeing your kids eat,
Yeah.
alhamdulillah, right? Like, that healthy appetite is just it's a blessing, right? So if you look at your life, if we all look at our lives and we notice the little things, um, it kind of the mental exhaustion usually is an underlying unmet need, and a
Uh-huh.
lot of times it's not just gaining sleep or eating, a lot of times it's, you need to nurture yourself spiritually,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's a combination between spirituality and
Yeah,
nurturing. As moms, we are nurturing people.
yeah,
We are made that way.
yeah,
Um, but it's definitely also, I just want to say about noticing the little things. We hear this a lot. I'm sure everybody who hears this episode are like, yeah, I heard a sheikh said it before, somebody said it before. Notice the little things, be grateful and content.
mhm.
But it's a muscle that we have to
Yes,
work on every day.
yes,
It
yes.
is not something that just drops on you, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us opportunities to practice the gratitude,
yeah,
but we just, have to put in the effort. And I think the best way that works for me is having, like, an affirmation or a mantra that I'm okay, alhamdulillah, I know that it's gonna work out, something like that, and then
yeah.
it hits me, right?
No, yeah, no, absolutely. Um, yeah, I'm just gonna go into, like, where I am now is that, like, I'm just trying to, like, Allah knows me, right? Like, Allah has created the soul, in the most perfect way that He saw fit, right? Um, and He shaped my life. He assigned family. He assigned me a spouse. He assigned me children. Then He shaped these children. He gave them to me. So Allah knows what's in my heart. He knows what's in my mind, right? And I feel
Correct.
like I'm just kind of in a journey where I need to get to know Allah the way He knows me. You know what I mean? I will never achieve that. Obviously, as human beings, we will never know Allah to the fullest extent.
Yeah.
Um, but, like, looking like, like, I always tell people, when I introduce myself, I always say I have two Saidi boys. And a lot of people might be like, well, that's such a weird thing to, introduce yourself with, but then everyone makes a face because they know.
Yeah.
And I alhamdulillah, I look at my sons, and they're very spirited, very strong-willed. I mean, we're always bouncing off the walls, but we're not bouncing off the walls in a destructive way. We're bouncing off the walls in a very, "Let's manipulate mama" way.
Yeah.
Um, and I realized that, like, when I first started becoming a toddler, and I find, like, it's almost like Allah created his personality that way so that he can be my inner child's best friend,
Subhanallah.
right? And you don't you like the notion of you being you can't be your child's friend. No, you as the mom, as the parent, you can't be your child's friend, but your inner child can be your child's friend.
Yeah.
We can all relive our childhoods in a more fulfilling way. There's always room for that.
Yeah.
So those moments of being silly, like I've never in my whole life imagined I'd be a silly person. I'm always very responsible, very serious. I was the oldest daughter, very independent. So now
Yeah.
that I'm always silly with them, subhanAllah, it's just it heals you. Like it really truly heals you. And like when I have people come and they stay with us for a couple of days and the boys bring them out of their comfort zone, they feel a sense of I mean, they feel
Mhm.
crazy because it's
Yeah.
very overstimulating, but they also feel like the sense of like, "Okay, my inner child got to play today."
Yep. Yeah, I
You know?
see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
Subhanallah, yeah. Because being an adult means you have to worry, you have to be responsible, and in
Mhm.
order to be responsible, you have to be alert, make
Mhm.
sure no bill is forgotten, make
Yeah.
sure, everything is in order, like, trying to juggle all the responsibilities, so you have to worry. If you're
Yeah.
not worried, if you're not constantly worrying, something
Mhm.
might happen. What if you
Mm.
make a big mistake where a bill is not paid and then the water shut off or something like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
And the kids bring us back to
Home
let it go a
based.
little bit.
Yeah.
Tawakkul.
Yeah.
Rely on
Yeah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like,
Yeah.
you will yes, of course, have systems and all of that, but all of that happened with the barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Subhanallah.
This is the beginning of the year, and when you look on YouTube, all you see is how to be more productive this year. The
Mhm.
system that's
Mhm.
not gonna ever fail you, all of that. And the
And
way
they
I
all
see it
sound like
yeah.
yeah.
And, yeah, there are systems that help, that's amazing, but there's a
Mhm.
base to it. The foundation is that time is subjective. Time is
Mm.
from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's outside of our control, and we have to ask for more barakah. And,
Yes.
like, the barakah that you might feel today, you probably didn't feel it a different day, right? It's every day
Mhm.
is different. But
100%.
the day you have barakah, you feel it, you know it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
SubhanAllah.
100%.
And that's
Even
nurturing. Yeah.
sorry to cut you off. Even, when you first become a mom, the the advice you get is very technical advice, right? Motherhood is not a technical position. Motherhood is not a transactional position. Um, so you get all this advice. Well, you have to feed your kid every 3 hours. Make sure your kid doesn't sleep in next to you, in your bed, or they're going to get used to it. Make sure that they sleep in a room by themselves. Make sure that you swaddle them this way. Make sure you do this, and this, and that, right? But nobody actually looks at the mom as a whole, and nobody looks at the child as a whole either. We're so worried about
Mm,
messing things up in our
yeah,
children, right? And
yeah,
then so like I'm a co-sleeper. I believe again and just disclaimer, whatever works for me might not work for you. Okay?
yeah,
So if you do what works for you, wonderful. I'm just saying what works for me. I am a co-sleeper. I believe in co-sleeping for me, for example, right? I
yeah,
like when my kids are with me in my bed. I enjoy
mm,
it. There's a lot of oxytocin. Oxytocin is very good for you. And the days are coming where they won't be in my room anymore. The
yeah,
days are coming where they won't be in my house anymore,
mm.
right? So what if they spend a couple of years cuddled next to your mom? The entire animal kingdom.
Yeah, and you said a word, I think the key word,
Mhm.
oxytocin,
Mhm.
which is, something that we do get to achieve through a lot of
Mhm.
activities, like
Yeah.
sleeping or
Mhm.
going for a walk or going to the park, doing things together,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And we don't pay attention to that because
Yeah.
we're like, "To-do list, to-do list, to-do list. What's next? What's
Yeah.
next? What's next?"
Yeah.
Right? Um, And same thing in homeschooling because you said, "Oh, if you do what works for you," right? Same thing in
Mhm,
homeschooling. When you if you homeschool, you probably like anybody who's listening and homeschools will
mhm,
know this, that
mhm,
your routine, what you do, the way you're teaching things, mean
mhm.
will definitely be unique to you.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah,
Because you're nurturing your children and you're nurturing yourself. There's a
yeah.
lot of factors in there that it's
Mhm.
what is the probability for having another family who does the same exact thing?
Very slim, subhanAllah.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So again, like going back to the title of this episode, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala positioned you in
Mhm,
specific positions,
mhm.
and you always remember, Allah puts me in this place. What how can I be the best self? How can I serve
Yeah,
him the best from this position? So as a
yeah.
mom, how can I serve him the best? Beyond the technicalities, we have
Mhm.
to remember first that making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know,
Yeah.
I was so worried about technicalities with my
Mhm.
firstborn because I over prepared, like
Yeah,
again, being an adult, you have to worry, you have to get it all right. I read every book, every blog post, every YouTube video.
yeah.
And with it was actually wasn't my first, it was my second. And then a friend told me, "Did you make that? Did you just ask
Mhm,
Allah to help your child
mhm.
sleep?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, I didn't think about this." I
Subhanallah,
was
yeah.
so invested in methods of sleeping,
Yes, yes,
right?
100%. Subhanallah, like, it we live in a society, and it brings me back to one of my favorite books, Hunt, Gather, Parent, right? Where it's kinda like in sometimes in our homes or in society, we're taught that there's a hierarchy, right? There's the elders, there's the parents, there's the nuclear family, and then there's the children. And what Hunt and Gather Parent teaches is that no, your children are not their own hierarchy. They are contributors to the family. So a lot of the indigenous people, you don't find them having a chore chart or telling their kids like, "Oh, please go wash the dishes." No, like the kids live in this unit. Um, they see something dirty, they just clean it because they want their space to be clean as well. Um, so I feel like we live in where like, okay, we need to solve the problem called children. We need to quiet them. They need to be busy. They need to sleep at a certain time. They need to sleep through the night so that the parents are not bothered, right? Instead
Yeah.
of no, they're involved, right? They cook with us, they clean with us, we learn together. They are an amana. They are souls that were assigned to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Um, so kind of just sidelining them ends up backfiring a lot of the times.
Yes, 100%. I feel it till this day that whenever I had like days when I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna live in my own world," and the kids will live in their own world, it
Yeah.
feels so isolating.
Yeah.
It feels so lonely, and from a parenting perspective,
Mhm.
they do miss your attention, so they end up misbehaving and calling
Mhm.
for your attention in different ways. But
Yeah.
from a but from a motherhood's perspective, it is very isolating and draining. That's what
Mhm.
makes our cups empty, and then we don't get a chance to refill it. We
Yeah.
look for adding more stuff to our list, like
Mhm.
uh, a bath, a massage, a walk, a this, buy stuff on Amazon. We
Anything
find
to help them self-soothe. When us as adults, we can't even self-soothe. When we're upset, what do? We text each other,
yeah,
right? Like we go like, okay, you whoever adult can give me a hug. We're not
yeah,
self-soothing creatures, right? We live as
yeah,
tribes. We were created to live
yeah,
as tribes.
yeah, yeah. And the more relationships we have, the
Mhm.
more um, we're we feel more fulfilled.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this as an introvert, by the way.
Mm.
So
Really? You're an introvert?
yeah,
Oh.
so I am definitely an introvert, but I did learn to expand my
Mm.
to my extroverted side. Definitely, I learned to do that.
'Cause
but
you found your tribe.
yes,
Yeah,
alhamdulillah, yes, I think
alhamdulillah.
that's a big
You know, I love the word tribe a lot more than village, because I feel like village is like I imagine like a street with a bunch of apartments and people can come in and out. But I feel like a tribe is like, no, like we're in this together. We do or die together. I trust you with my offspring. You trust me with your offspring. We eat together. We don't have to clean to each other like that. Like that's how I imagine a tribe.
100%. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing.
let me ask you a question before we end. Do you feel like, well, actually, I have a couple of questions for you. First one, do you feel like you are living a series of answered du'as?
Oh, mashallah, alhamdulillah. Yes, yes,
Alhamdulillah,
definitely.
same.
And I didn't learn this until like a few years ago.
Mhm.
So it's always the case, subhanAllah. It's always the case that we
Yeah,
live in answered du'as, but we don't notice it. And as I
yeah,
said earlier, it's a muscle that we need to strengthen. It's a
yeah.
muscle that every day you have to look around and look
Mhm.
at the answer it has, look at the stuff that's happening. You
Yeah.
can't like I understand when we are overwhelmed, we
Mm,
just dissociate, we just want to focus on the negative. Again,
yeah,
that's like our brain does that. We want to just focus on the problem and stay there.
yeah.
But as soon as you take a moment to look at what's good, where's ease,
Mhm.
Allah gives me a challenge and it also gives me the answer. It also gives
Yeah.
me the ease. And if I'm really stuck and like I have no idea what to do, well, what you do is, Allah, I don't know what to do. Please guide
Yeah,
me.
tell me what to do. Yeah, I do that
Yeah,
all the time, like, sometimes I'm like, "Allah, I don't know what to do. Please, Allah, tell me like, show me the way. Just show me the way."
yeah,
Like, that's it, and subhanAllah, Allah will always show you the way,
yeah. Alhamdulillah,
right?
alhamdulillah. What about
It's
you?
so I'm I'm laughing because my second doesn't sleep well.
Okay.
Um, and every morning is subhanallah, like he smiles at me and he hits the delete button on the night. Like I don't remember the fact that he kept me up all night just because he's like he gives me a grin and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, like I made dua for you. Like I waited a long time to see that smile.
Alhamdulillah. But subhanallah, yeah.
Uh,
It's
Yeah,
special. Subhanallah.
that's motherhood in a nutshell. You won't sleep, but you have me.
Yeah, you know, I do remember that I read before. I forgot what I read. It
That's
was
motherhood in a nutshell again, yeah.
yeah, your mom brain, but it was
Mhm.
something as there was more barakah
Mm.
in the way we use our time rather than how
Mhm.
much sleep we sleep. Like even
Yes,
scientifically, you need to have 9
yes.
hours, whatever. They say women have to sleep more than men scientifically. That's what they found out. But I
Mhm.
always keep going back to the baraka concept in our time because
Yeah.
like, even though I'm a fan of making schedules and rhythms and all of that,
Mhm.
days are just unpredictable. Like these are humans. They're not
Yes,
objects. They're not projects. You
yes.
can't predict. If the
No.
baby usually sleeps at 9, doesn't mean she's gonna sleep every day at 9. Like
Yeah,
today, she didn't
yeah.
sleep at the time she's used to, right?
Mhm.
What does that mean? I'm just gonna say, "Oh, forget it. My day is ruined." No,
Mhm.
like,
You get
well,
creative. You have to
yeah.
get creative. You have to learn to multitask.
And again, Allah shows you the path all the
Yeah.
time. So I guess going back to the title of this episode is that
Mhm.
we try our best to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's
Mhm.
blessings on us, whatever situations we find ourselves in. And you and always starts with me as a servant, what am I doing? And
Yeah.
serving my children, my husband more before everybody
Yeah.
else, like in the community.
Mhm.
So don't feel like you're not allowed to stop and ask, is this working for me?
Yeah. I mean, that's why this podcast idea came up anyways, right? Because every time and if you know me, you know I don't really like small talk, I like deep conversation, and I noticed over the past few months, Every time I would have a deep conversation with the mom, it's like I'm having the same conversation over and over, but we're not having them out loud together. Like when we say, "How are you?" we just say, "Alhamdulillah, I'm fine." But deep down, you're not, and deep down, you're struggling, but there's this barrier. We're not really sharing it with each other. So we know what it feels like when you're putting your baby to sleep and you're falling asleep with him and you still need to get up and you need to pray Isha, you need to put your dishes, you need to load the dishwasher, you want to tidy up, you want to put the food away, and you are tired to the bone. We know, we get it, right? We get it when your brain can barely put two and two together.
Yes.
So the whole point of this podcast was to be like, okay, you don't have to do this alone, right? You can listen to us while you need to get this task done, right? We are a tribe. We want to extend this tribe outside of our physical place.
Yes. So now, next time you have laundry to do, you have
Hmm.
dishes to go through,
Hmm.
podcast on.
Yes,
We're here for you,
exactly. Yes.
cheering you on.
And one of my good friends, one of our good friends actually, she said, imagine the way she gets through everything is she imagines Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment calling her through the door of Jannah of ihtisab. How can you translate that, Meriem?
I don't know.
Perseverance, maybe?
Yeah,
Perseverance and patience.
I think so.
With every hardship. So with every time you push and you clean your home, because cleanliness is from Iman, and nurturing your family with healthy food, that's all worship. And inshallah, it'll be a door to Jannah for you.
Inshallah, ya Rab.
Allah,
Yeah, that's a
inshallah.
beautiful way of seeing it. I'm definitely gonna use it and remember it.
Any last thoughts, Mariam?
Um, no, alhamdulillah, I'm happy that we got to talk about this topic.
Yes, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So, next episode, inshallah, we are going to be talking about when we booked our tickets on the journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when that moment in life was where it clicked, or when we reverted, as some people like to say. When did your journey to Allah start? Uh,
Inshallah.
Allah
Which is
subhanahu wa
just a
ta'ala.
continuation of this topic.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Free Palestine, free
Free
all the
Palestine.
oppressed Muslim countries. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free all of our Muslim brothers and sisters all around the world. Free us from our nafs. And we will talk to you guys, inshallah, on our next episode. Assalamu
Salam.
alaikum.
Salam alaikum.